The NHS won't resuscitate the disabled. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at a frankly shocking and disgusting article, and I will be surprised. I'm going to try and remain calm reading this. I'll be surprised if it doesn't turn into a rant. Fury as do not resuscitate notices given to COVID patients with learning disabilities. Now, I appreciate why often you will want a do not resuscitation note put on your, treatment plan, particularly if you're quite old. The damage that can be done resuscitating you if you're gone could make the last months that you may live not worth it. It could be horrendous. You could have all broken bones in your chest that you don't know what they can do. You can spend it hooked up to machines. So I appreciate that. But that should be your choice. As an individual, you should be able to plan that. And if you're young and able, maybe that's something you should get put in writing if it's something you're considering for when you're older. But look at this. This is the problem when you have state-controlled healthcare, because they will make decisions on your behalf. Because, you should be happy you're getting anything. They're stealing money from you to force for you to pay for these systems, which are very inefficient, which have no competition in them, essentially. So they can do stuff like this. So vulnerable people have encountered shocking discrimination during the pandemic, says MenCap Charity. People with learning disabilities have been given do not resuscitate orders during the second wave of the pandemic, in spite of widespread condemnation of the practice last year and an urgent investigation by the care watchdog. People with learning disabilities. The most vulnerable people often. They've been given do not resuscitate orders. Shouldn't that be their choice? Shouldn't that be the choice of their carers if they don't have the capacity to do it? Shouldn't our health system be doing everything it can to save people? MenCap said it had received reports in January from people with learning disabilities that they had been told they would not be resuscitated if they were taken ill with COVID-19. Now, here's something I'll bring to your attention. Because people with Downs have 10 times the risk of death from COVID-19 as those without. And it's to do with the unique genetic differences that they have. Essentially, one thing that's quite interesting I learned yesterday, because we've got a little son with Downs, is that their body is constantly fighting inflammation. It's like they're fighting an illness constantly. And that can lead to, among other things, this higher risk with it. So how would you feel if you're considered not worthy of the care, or they automatically put a do not resuscitate on you because you're not worth the effort? For the most vulnerable people in the community here, what is this telling you, everyone? The UK, where they're so bloody proud of their NHS, they're clapping like stupid idiots on the road whenever someone walks up the street and shaming their neighbours for not doing it. They're having them at the bloody Olympics, are implementing things like this. The UK's just gone. It's screwed up. The Care Quality Commission said in December that inappropriate do not attempt cardiopulmonary resuscitation notices had caused potentially avoidable deaths last year. They're killing people, everyone. DNAC PRs are usually made for people who are too frail to benefit from CPR. But MenCap said some seem to have been issued for people simply because they had a learning disability. The CQC is due to publish a report on the practice within weeks. I mean, if we were doing that, then all of these nutcases who think the world's going to end in 4 months, maybe they should have it too. Because they're obviously mentally deficient. They can't think or plan. Or in reality, we know they're in a cult. That's why. But there you go, guys. This is what happens. This is when the state has control over you. This is the problem with public health care. When you leave it in the hands of the authorities, then other people have authority over it. And I know people are going to go through the comments and go, oh, what, you want it like America where it costs a fortune? No, the American healthcare system is screwed because the government has, well, limited pays for people. So then the employers had to get involved in health insurance to provide some perks. And then the government stepped in to try and regulate it. And it's become a complete and utter stuff up, just like their university education system there, where the government got involved as well. The disclosure comes as campaigners put growing pressure on ministers to reconsider a decision not to give people with learning disabilities priority for the vaccination. What? Shouldn't the people who are most vulnerable be getting it first? Come on! What is the point of this? And this is where you'll get all the people that are saying, oh, it's just all part of a depopulation conspiracy here. The problem is this type of thinking, that certain people are worthy of healthcare as opposed to others. Where do you think this leads? I mean, the charity MenCap, they support Downs and autistic people. They're people with learning disabilities. I mean, these days, you see a Downs kid, it's rare, guys. Their entire genetic... anyone with that genetic condition is detected in the womb, and most of them are killed. You can make an argument against that from the non-aggression principle. You can make an argument against that from the spiritual or religious theological position. There's growing evidence that even those with a mild disability are more likely to die if they contract the coronavirus. Come on. Although some people with learning disabilities such as Down syndromes were in one of 4 groups set by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization, which the government promised would be offered the vaccine by tomorrow, many were classified lower categories of need and still waiting. Oh, there you go. At least they're the higher ones. NHS figures released last week showed that in the 5 weeks since the 3rd lockdown began, COVID-19 accounted for 65% of deaths of people with learning disabilities. Figures from the Office for National Statistics show the rate for the general population was 39%, although the two statistics are drawn from different measurements. Younger people with learning disabilities aged 18 to 34 are 30 times more likely to die of COVID than others of the same age, according to Public Health England. Adele Harris, MenCap's chief executive, said, throughout the pandemic, many people with a learning disability have faced shocking discrimination and obstacles to accessing healthcare, with inappropriate do not attempt cardiopulmonary resuscitation notices put on their files and cuts made to their social care support. It's unacceptable that within a group of people hit so hard by the pandemic, who even before COVID died on average over 20 years younger than the general population, many are left feeling scared and wondering why they have been left out. The JCVI and government must act now to help save the lives of some of society's most vulnerable people by urgently prioritizing all people with a learning disability for a vaccine. Well, here's the thing. There needs to be a culture shift, everyone. What do you think happened in Austria after the Anschluss? What do you think happened? They rounded up all the imbeciles, all the disabled, all the cripples to take care of them. What do you think they did to them? I'm getting more and more concerned that humans are so stupid that we'll repeat the mistakes of the past. And once again, collectivist socialism is pushing us towards a dark future. Same thing here, everyone. This is just the beginning. This is just one little step. More than 14 million people have received a first vaccination dose so far, and care providers who spoke to the Observer said many people with learning disabilities had been vaccinated in the last weeks. But some are still waiting. One woman from the West Midlands who has a rare form of Down syndrome told The Observer she had not been given a date. It's really frustrating. It's been a fight, and it shouldn't have been a fight, she said. Her conditions means she's in Category 4, people who are clinically extremely vulnerable, but her GP did not have details of her condition on record, a common problem according to MenCap. I had to call them a lot of times, she said. The practice accepted last week that she needs to be vaccinated, she said. But she was still waiting. For people in a similar situation to me, they won't have been badgering them as much as me. A lack of badgering is part of the reason why people with learning disabilities may be more likely to die from COVID-19 than the rest of the population, according to Dr. Kerry Michelle Lodge, a consultant in learning disability psychiatry in Leeds. Doctors often don't understand that someone with learning disabilities may not be able to communicate their symptoms, she said. Carers are sometimes not listened to. You might notice something is wrong, but that is often written off as part of their behavior, not to be able to communicate their symptoms, she said. Carers are sometimes not listened to. We've read that again. People with learning disabilities already get a raw deal from the health service. Fewer than 2 in 5 people with a learning disability live until they are 65. An analysis by the Office of National Statistics last week showed that 6 in 10 COVID deaths were of people with a disability. The biggest factor associated with the increased rate of death from their analysis was living in care homes or residential settings, Lodge said. They prioritized people in care homes for vaccinations, but that was only for older adults. They completely forgot about people with learning disabilities in a really similar setting. I don't know if the government were blindsided or just neglectful. What do you think? Professor Martin Green, OBE, Care England's chief executive, said, as the largest representative body for independent providers for adult social care, Care England remains concerned that the government has not given individuals with a learning disability a high level of priority for the COVID vaccine. We urge the government to remove the arbitrary distinction between prioritising those with a severe or profound learning disability and those with a mild or moderate learning disability, and prioritising all of those with a learning disability in priority group 4. People with learning disabilities may not be overlooked at any time. A spokesperson for the Department of Health and Social Care said, it is completely unacceptable for do not resuscitate or do not attempt CPR decisions to be applied in a blanket fashion for any group of people. I mean, that is the most disgusting thing of all of this. This has never been policy, and we've taken care to prevent this from happening. We've asked the CQC to undertake a review of notices issued during the pandemic. This review has started and will report later this year. As this proceeds, we'll continue to work across the health and care system to address the issue. There you go. What do you think? Do you see where this can go? You see the problem when the government is making these decisions. Right now, it's only for people with learning disabilities. Maybe it'll be eventually for people with incorrect political opinions. What do you think, everyone? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch for HeiseSays, use Gold Pass on the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. You can also join MeetRx or SelfWealth and help us out that way. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time.